Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network for Tuesday, February 16th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Jimmy Murphy will be along momentarily, as well as we're ready to break down the Tuesday NHL card. 5 games on tap, multiple games postponed, couple of teams coming back from COVID-19 shutdowns tonight as well. So lots to talk about. But on days like this, where we have a shorter card, and only 5 games to look forward to tonight on this Tuesday card, we always like to take a little glimpse back at last night. And if you were watching the NHL action unfold last night, it's worth talking about it and discussing it a little bit, because that was mayhem, that was carnage, that was all out, a shit show, to be honest with you, on the ice last night. In terms of high scoring games, if you liked overs and you liked goals like I do, certainly we saw a lot of that last night. We saw a bunch of teams have big leads and blow them. Columbus did to Carolina. The Winnipeg Jets, even against Edmonton, they let a lead slip away, although they came back to hang on for a 6-5 victory in that game. Heck, even Florida did their best to try to blow it against Tampa Bay last night in that game, and they had to hang on. But of course, the crowning achievement of collapses, the crowning achievement of blowing it, and coughing up a lung with a massive lead last night goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, it really was a remarkable comeback for Ottawa, a remarkable collapse for Toronto, I guess, depending on which way you want to look at it and what side of the fence you're sitting on. But when you look at it from a Toronto perspective, look, everybody and his brother that watches and comments on NHL hockey, Alex, they were talking about how this Leafs team defensively has made so much improvement this year so far, with their ability to defend, their ability to not have to be caught running around in their own zone, being hemmed in, multiple shifts. There's been years where I've seen this Leaf defense basically, stuck in their own zone for 2 minutes, and the other team's got like 2 different line shifts in a row against them. And the Leafs still can't get the puck out. We've seen that from many Leaf teams in the years past. And to me, the most impressive thing with Toronto early this season was their ability to just get the puck out, not spend a lot of time in their own zone, not turn the puck over, be able to play with the lead. That has been something that was really strong for them this season up until last night. Well, you could say the third period against Montreal as well on Saturday. But just as I said on Twitter last night, it was ghosts of Toronto Maple Leaf teams past that we saw last night. A little ode to Ebenezer Scrooge right there. If you're feeling like Scrooge today, pretty grumpy, pretty miserable, if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, seeing what happened last night in that game against the Ottawa Senators. But I'll say this about Ottawa. Look, they've obviously got a very young group. They're going to have a lot of rough nights. There's going to be a lot of nights on the schedule ahead for the Senators where they just get their ass kicked. But they work hard. And DJ Smith's instilled that work ethic in this hockey team. And if you think you're just going to trot out there and get 2 points against them, you better think again. If you think they're just going to switch off the effort and turn off the intensity, Ottawa, when they get down in a game, think again. We saw it against Winnipeg on Saturday. They came back. We saw it again last night against Toronto. They came back. So give Ottawa a lot of credit for that. And I feel like after all those games last night, guys, I felt like I had to pour a big bucket of ice water over my head, because I was just, I was excited. There's energy, adrenaline flowing through my veins, watching all of this carnage on the ice unfold. I felt like I needed a cool down after all of that. Thankfully, it worked out well from a betting perspective. Good night for me, for Alex as well. He did a really good job with the card. Jimmy had some winners as well, good calls. So it was a good night overall for us from a betting perspective. Alex, we'll get your thoughts here on what we saw last night. It was a manic Monday for sure in NHL action.
Yeah, definitely. And, it seems like this might be, a theme we'll see from time to time. Like we talked about how condensed the schedule is, and, now with more postponements now because of weather, not necessarily COVID issues and different things. Some teams are just going to have these flat spots, not necessarily at the start of the game, but, throughout the last, two periods or last 20 minutes of play. I think that's just what we saw from Toronto. I mean, they've been playing really well, and all of a sudden they just completely fell flat. But at the same time, historically Ottawa has played Toronto well. That is a rivalry that means more, it seems, to the Senators than the Leafs, and it's proven, more often than not, in the final score, no matter how good or bad either one of these clubs are. So you have to kind of take those things into consideration. That's why live betting is so crucial. If you're able, I was able to hammer one of the next goal props with Ottawa, but I didn't think they were going to come back and tie things up, let alone go on and win the game. But once they got that shorthanded goal late in the second, okay, the momentum was on their side. Maybe they get another goal, but then they probably will let one back in. That was my theory and thinking. Did not expect for Toronto to be held scoreless the rest of the way. And then you look at the game with Buffalo and the Islanders. Buffalo didn't even get a shot off in the third period. They were outshot 12-0. There's actually one sportsbook that refunded Buffalo money line bets as a result of that. They claimed it was a bad beat. I disputed that on Twitter. I'm like, how is that a bad beat? They didn't get a shot off in 20 minutes. They were a bad team, and that was just a bad night for them. But that's not nearly as bad of a beat as if you had Toronto or if you had Columbus, where Columbus looked like they were going to cruise, looked like they would have won 7-3, and they ended up losing 7-3. So it's just one of those weird nights. And like I said, if you're a new bettor to the NHL, you got to take these in stride. These things are going to happen. Some nights you're going to get lucky and have some big wins on your side, some big comebacks, and then sometimes you're going to get burned by comebacks as well. So especially with this kind of a topsy-turvy season, and a lot of condensed nights, and the different just travel ranges and everything, nothing is consistent as far as a timing basis goes. And we always talk about this. This is a ritualistic sport, a timing sport. It messes up things on the ice sometimes, just with things off the ice as well. So.
Yeah, for sure, Alex. I think we lost Ian there for a bit, but yeah, for sure. I can't believe they did that though on the third period there with Buffalo.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure what book it was.
That can get me back in life if they were to do that. I had a rough drunk night the other night.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Did I get that back?
Yeah,
wow.
and like I said, and it was odd that they picked that game because, like I said, just in the last week we could talk about all kind of different games that blown leads, and even look at the Hawks Red Wings game last night, where the Hawks were cruising there, and the Hawks were actually fortunate to be up 2-1 in that game. They really should have been a Wings win, honestly, the way that they played the first 40 minutes, and then once again they pull another game out in overtime. And then you look at Arizona and St. Louis, that game, 1-0 early, and then it just pretty much just stays pat after them playing for the 7th consecutive game. So, like I said, and that rhythm and momentum too is going to be a big deal. We're going to see that more often than not with things, because I think now we have a real serious stretch of where teams are playing 3 games in a row against one another, as opposed to just a standard 2.
Yeah, and good luck. I mean, looking ahead to that outdoor game on Sunday with the Flyers and Bruins that amazingly is still on. Good luck trying to figure that one out. I mean, considering what the Flyers have been through, and then both teams are going to be flying 5 to 6 hours there just for one game, with everything else going on around them. I just wonder, mentally where both teams going to be at, like looking at that game, like, what the hell are we doing here? I mean, yeah, it's cool, it's beautiful, and whatever, blah blah blah, but it's just I'm not going to go near that game, to be honest. I mean, sometimes on those outdoor games, I love to take the under just because I think it's hard to get a feel for in the outdoor weather. But I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, crazy night there. But I actually, Alex, I'll stay on with you until Ian gets back. But I got to run to get to a doctor's and then get home before Liverpool. Anyhow, with these games tonight, I mean, I don't know where you want to start.
But you just run through what plays you have, and then, like I said, we'll just go through.
Cool. So I'm loving the under again. Speaking of that Sabres Islanders, I'm loving the under in that Sabres Islanders game. I mean, I don't see Buffalo will likely get a shot in the third period of this game. I would think, but
maybe.
I just don't see them all of a sudden having this rocket fuel offense out of the blue. It's just not going to happen. And of course, with the way the Islanders clamp it down, I'm loving the under, and that's actually going to be my best bet tonight. Pens Capitals. I like the Pens on the money line. Devils Rangers. This is a tough game, a little for me to figure out, but I'm actually going to take the Devils in regulation in that game. And then with the Avs and the Golden Knights at a 5.5, it's just irresistible for me to not take the over here. I know the goaltending's been great for the Golden Knights, but I just think there's too much offense on either side for these teams not to click. So give me the over in that. So those are my 4 plays.
All right, I am back. Sorry, technical issues. We did have a snowstorm here today, a brutal one. here in Southern Ontario, and I'm wondering if that's had an effect. But yeah,
I lost power here today too. We had an ice
on and off power. Yeah, welcome to middle of February. We're right in the dead winter right now, and you're seeing the effects of it right now in this game. Is that it, Jimmy? You're giving your picks? Are you taking off now?
Yeah, because I got a doctor's appointment, guys, at 2:30. I apologize. So I got to run down to that. Thankfully, it's right down the street, and then back here to watch my lads hopefully get a win in the Champions League. I hope.
Yeah, well, they suck right now.
Yeah, they do. But you know what? Bonus pick. Take them on the money line. You're not gonna get a plus 130 many times with Liverpool. So
no, my soccer guy says Red Bull Leipzig's the play, so I'm going with that.
Oh, woo. Well, I hope he's wrong. Then you know. All right, guys, have a good one, eh?
All right,
yeah, good stuff.
Jimmy.
We'll see you tomorrow. Yep, take care.
Right. Later.
There he is, the one and only Jimmy Murphy. Sports writer, NHL beat reporter for the Boston Bruins, and our fellow colleague here on the Ice Guys. He gave you his plays. I think he said the Islanders Sabres under 5.5 was his best bet. I may not be rooting for him on that one because we're going to talk about the Islanders and Sabres right now. Islanders minus 130, road favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the under in this one. Now the show can settle into its normal flow here. We've had, fits and starts with technology. We've had Jimmy having to leave early for a doctor's appointment. So now we can get to the matters at hand. And look, there's no doubt at all. The Buffalo Sabres did nothing offensively. There's no doubt. And if you like the under for those reasons, I understand that. I mean, Buffalo they didn't get anything clicking. You could tell. It's kind of like with Colorado when they came back from their first game with the COVID shutdown against Vegas on Sunday. If you watch that game, tape-to-tape passes and, being, quick puck movement, quick decisions, get yourself in open areas before the defense can get set. That's the key to being able to generate scoring chances and score goals. Being one step ahead of the opponent, not just your skating stride and your speed. It's the decision-making. It's the puck movement. It's the passing. It's got to be pinpoint. You can't miss a pass or put it off the guy's stick or put it behind him, and it screws up the whole play. And often the puck connects at the zone, and there you go. There's your chance thwarted. And we saw a lot of that from Colorado Sunday against Vegas in their first game after the long break, the long pause. Kind of saw that again with Buffalo last night as well against the New York Islanders in that game. Things weren't clicking. I don't care how long you've been off. The fact you don't have a shot on goal in the third period last night, that's flat out despicable for the Buffalo Sabres. So we know the Islanders are probably the better of these two teams. They are. But to not get a shot on goal in the third period at home, just not very good from the Buffalo Sabres. So with that in mind, I expect them to throw a lot of rubber at the net tonight for against the New York Islanders. Now, whether the puck goes in remains to be seen, but to my surprise, we had Semyon Varlamov in net all day long. It was looking likely that Sorokin was going to get the first start. Ilya Sorokin in net for the Islanders. They'd rest Varlamov, hold him back for tonight's game. But he actually got the game last night. And Barry Trotz said it at his morning skate press conference today, likely Ilya Sorokin in net tonight. And his numbers aren't great. 0-3 on the season, sub-900 save percentage for Sorokin this season, sub-900 or over 3, I should say, goals against average for him as well. So again, he has not necessarily stepped up and played well in those opportunities when he's been given the net here for this Islanders team. So you factor that in. You factor in the fact that the Sabres are a team that's coming off just a terrible third period where they just didn't generate anything, didn't even get a shot. You would expect Buffalo to be pretty aggressive in their approach here going into this game. On the flip side, the New York Islanders, I'll tell you what, they've put in goals lately, Alex. 3 goals in 5 of their last 6 games. Anthony Beauvillier, too, who's been one of their brightest lights offensively, the last season or so. He's coming back from injury tonight for the Islanders, so they're going to get a boost in that regard, getting the services of Anthony Beauvillier back in the lineup. As I mentioned on the show yesterday when we teed up this game, Anders Lee, Jordan Eberle, Matthew Barzal, all of these guys in really good form right now at the moment for the Islanders. And as much as I'm worried about Sorokin being the goalie for the Islanders, I'm just as worried that Carter Hutton might be the goalie tonight for the Buffalo Sabres in this game. With Linus Ullmark getting the start last night, there's a good chance we're going to end up seeing Carter Hutton tonight. And you talk about a guy that's numbers in between the pipes have not been very good. That remains a problem for Carter Hutton. Here's another goalie with a sub-900 save percentage, a goals against average above 3, Hasn't been very, very good in the minimal amount of starts he's had this year. So I think with this game being low scoring last night, 3-1 Islander win, with I think Buffalo looking to really charge up, ramp things up, push the pace, push the attack, be more aggressive, shoot the puck a lot more, 2 suspect goalies. I think I'm going to go over this total here, 5.5. It's even money, plus 100. And it's worth noting, actually, Buffalo's been an over team off and under, and so have the Islanders of late. You look at the Islanders, when they play an under, more often than not, the next game's gone over. They've not been that game in, game out under team every single game this year, this Islanders team. So I think you put all those factors together, and this game can find its way over the total. So I'm on Islanders Sabres here, over 5.5, plus 100. Alex, what's your take on this game?
Well, I'm just going to keep on riding this first period over trend with the Islanders. And like I said, the fact that we might see both of the weaker goalies in net, and the fact that Buffalo, as I mentioned, no shots on goal in that third period, they're going to obviously want to come out with a hot start in this game, especially, finishing as flat as they did. So I think, we won't need 2 quick goals from the Islanders like we got last night. That game looked like it was going to just sit under the entire time, and like I said, Islanders start off hot and then they kind of cool off and play their style of defense. And like I said, it's going to take time for Buffalo to get acclimated. It's going to take time for a lot of these teams that have missed multiple games and over a week of play. And we're seeing a bunch of them in action tonight, so things may not go that well again for Buffalo overall, but I think we'll see a good amount of energy and back and forth play for the first 20 minutes. So I like that first period over 1.5. You can get that at even money as well.
All right, over 1.5, plus 100 first period. Alex, this game was good to him last night, the Islanders and Sabres. Islanders in regulation was also his best bet on yesterday's show. So a nice 2-0 for Alex from this Islanders-Sabres matchup last night. He's going right back to the first period over. I lean Islanders, but I'm not going to lay a price on the road with a goalie that hasn't won yet this year. And if we expect it to be Sorokin, that's the one thing that would hold me off the Islanders. I lean to the Islanders, but I'm just going to stick with the over here. Speaking of overs, if you've been betting overs with Washington and Pittsburgh, holy mackerel, you just keep winning one after another, and they're playing each other again tonight. Pittsburgh minus 125 home favorites, total 6.5, shaded to the under. You often hear me use the term on this show, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's one of my favorite terms. If I find a trend or angle or streak that keeps on cashing, I'm not jumping off the streak, and I'm going to keep on riding it. That's what I'm doing here over the total. I mean, as simple as that. I mean, it's 6-3 for Pittsburgh on Sunday between these two teams. That's the 7th straight over between the Capitals and Penguins, 7-0 to the over in their last 7 games head-to-head. Capitals can't shut down Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh can't shut down Washington. I think we've seen these two teams play each other enough to figure that out. I mean, you're not splitting the atom seeing Washington give up goals and against Pittsburgh in bunches and vice versa and say, you know what, these teams are struggling to defend one another. And that's exactly what we've seen consistently with these two teams. And the fact that Pittsburgh, it's very well documented, their power play has been a huge disappointment. There's no reason for Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, and guys of this caliber up front to have a 0-for-21 slide on the power play. But they finally bumped the slump on Sunday with Brian Rust's power play goal. And man, that top line that Mike Sullivan's put together in recent games now with Rust, Crosby, and Gensel, man, it is producing, and it's finally coming to life. They had 4 goals and 8 points combined in the Sunday win against Washington. Very impressive numbers from them. Washington's defense is out of sorts right now, and it's been that way for several games now. They've allowed 22 goals in their last 4 games combined. They're giving up an average of 5.5 goals per game during that span, this Washington team. That's just awful numbers. And I don't want to say Vitek Vanacek's been figured out, but he's definitely not having the success the last few games that he did when he first took over for the absent Ilya Samsonov. And, again, we talked about it with Reimer last night too. The more the goalies play, the more they get tired, the more they wear down, and the more the opponents have tendencies and weaknesses that they can look at the goalie and say, this is where we can beat the guy. This is where he's vulnerable. So especially goalies that aren't bona fide, tried and true number 1 goalies. And that's, I think, what we've got here with Vitek Vanacek right now with Washington. Certainly Tristan Jarry's had an up and down year as well. And here's an interesting stat. And again, I'm diving into some of these advanced metrics that matter to me, like the expected goals and the high danger chances, high danger save percentage. This is a good metric for goalies. Goalies that are facing those, 10 bell, 5-star, 10-star, whatever you want to call them, scoring chances. Are they bailing their teams out, or are they letting the goal in, or are they, letting the puck beat them? Well, the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins this season, they rank 27th and 31st in the NHL, respectively, in terms of lowest high danger save percentage from their goaltending. So these are two teams that aren't getting their goaltenders to bail them out. Jari and DeSmith aren't doing that, although mostly it's been Jari, and Vitek Vanacek hasn't been doing it for Washington. So these are two of the teams that are, basically bottom 5 in the NHL in worst high danger save percentage this season. So you factor all of this in, and the offensive weaponry both teams have, and the defensive question marks and the goaltending question marks both teams have right now. And like I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For me, Washington, Pittsburgh over 6.5 here, -120. We'll see if we get an 8th straight over between these two teams. Alex, what do you think here? Capitals, Penguins.
Yeah, I'm going with the first period over in this one too. You can get it at 2 +115 or +120. You look at the last 6 meetings; they've gone 5-1 in the first period over. And that's if you were laying either 1.5 goals or 2. We've seen 2-1, 3-1, 3-0. So like I said, it's been high scoring early in these contests. Like I said, with Vanacek, and getting a lot of minutes early. Like I said, it's the same thing with Reimer. It's the same thing with some of these other backup goalies. The workload gets to be increased this early, and it's a bit unfamiliar. And like I said, it's a Pittsburgh team that moves are going to be made at some point. It seems like now there's a lot of rumblings and different talks now with Hextall and Burke being in that front office. So guys are going to be a little bit fired up and motivated. Hey, if they want to stick around, they've got to prove their mettle, prove their worth. Despite the fact that they've been a good team for a long time. So I like this one to go over in the first period for sure. 2 goals, that's official, and then just a slight lean with the over 6.5, because they said you wonder if things could slow down a little bit because of how familiar these teams are with one another. But like I said, it just hasn't been the trend overall. So you just kind of worry with that high of a number. So I'm just going to stay pat with the over 2, and if I see any adjustments, I'll play in game.
That's the funny thing in these two teams. In every meeting, you've had goals early in the game, and you've actually had the goals in some of these games head to head with these two teams this season actually pick up in the second and third period, especially when Pittsburgh pulled off some of those comebacks. I'll tell you what, if Washington somehow loses again to Pittsburgh, they're going to be thankful they don't see the Penguins again anytime soon, because it's been a rough time of it for the Washington Capitals head to head this year against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know a lot of people that I've talked to like Washington here, but I said Pittsburgh could be a bet on team with the regime change, with Burke and Hextall at the helm. These players are now figuring out that, hey, if we're going to make something out of this season, we got to show Brian Burke, our new president of hockey ops, and Ron Hextall, our new GM, that we're going to be a good hockey team, that we can go on a run, we can be a playoff team. We don't want them breaking up the core. All the rumors of Letang being traded, Crosby being traded, even Malkin being traded. And the only way you do that is you go out there and get results and you get wins to prove to the brass that, hey, we're good. We can be a good team. We can be a playoff team or a cup contender. And I think Pittsburgh's got an onus to try to do that right now. And they've played like it the first couple of games since that front office shakeup was announced last week. Next up, we're going to skip the late games and we'll come back to them. We're going to do the last of the early games first. New Jersey, New York Rangers. The Rangers -135, home favorites, 5.5 here. The total shaded to the over. The Rangers have been an under machine, and it's kind of shocked me that they've actually regressed quite a bit offensively. We're waiting for Mika Zibanejad to get going, and I think at some point he's got to score. He's getting chances. He's doing a lot of the right things. It's just the puck is not going in the net for them. And every elite forward is going to have one of these times during a long season where, you know what, they're getting chances, they're getting shots, the opportunities are there, the production isn't. And right now, that's the case for Mika Zibanejad of the New York Rangers. The New Jersey Devils have had a very long COVID hiatus. And from what I can see, they've still got a lot of guys that are ailing, going into this return to play here tonight against the New York Rangers. And that's definitely something you've got to be at least a little bit concerned about with the Devils coming into this game. When Devils, played their last game, you have to remember they had a bunch of positives in terms of their COVID testing. So you wonder if a lot of these players have been able to get themselves back to full strength for this game. The Devils had 19 players, 19 on the COVID-19 list at one point. Now that number's been reduced to 5. Then it went down from 19 to 13, then 13 to 5. The players that have not been cleared, though, Dmitry Kulikov, a veteran defenseman, Travis Zajac, one of their better two-way forwards. Defensively, he's probably a bigger impact even than offensively. Nathan Bastian's played well, Nikita Gusev, and the big one, of course, is Nico Hischier. He looks like he's not in tonight for the Devils. So they're still a little bit shorthanded. I worry about them in this spot. The New York Rangers, certainly, they've struggled in one-goal games. They've not exactly lit it up offensively. Artemi Panarin might be out again tonight as well for the Rangers, so keep an eye on that. But I think it definitely sets up situationally well for the Rangers after a couple of really tough, frustrating losses to the Bruins. I thought they gave the Bruins a good go in both games, but fell just short. So I like the Rangers here, but I think maybe to make it a little more bang for my buck, I'm going to go with them in regulation here in this game on the New York Rangers side. Get a little bit better price on that. I think that's probably a good way to go, and certainly for better value, a little bit more with the regulation on the Rangers than the full game money line. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Devils and Rangers.
Yeah, it's the same thing I played. I got them plus 110 in regulation, the Rangers. You said the Devils, of all the teams that have missed action, like I said, they had more guys that, were tested positive and truly affected by this, so far this season. So it's going to be a good while for this team. And even, like I said, it's kind of the same thing I said with Buffalo. When they were healthy, they just weren't that good of a hockey team. So now when you throw in the fact that all these guys have been dealing with these issues and, just been off for such a long time, that's going to be hard to do again. And, you're playing against a rival in the Rangers, a Rangers team that desperately needs to win after losing 3 in a row. So I think New York's going to come out here, hot and focused. So I like them in regulation plus $1.10.
All right, liking them in regulation plus 110, as am I. I forgot to mention this, also going to play this game over the total. I know the Rangers have been on a very big time under trend, but I think this is a chance where they get to flex their muscles a bit, find their scoring legs a little bit, find some offense. They're going to finally take a step down in class, certainly defensive class, facing New Jersey. After playing some of the tougher teams like the Islanders and the Bruins, some of the teams that the Rangers have had to play lately. So I think this is one of those games too. You could look at it 3 different ways. You could take Rangers regulation line. Alex and I have. That's probably the one I like the most. But you could also maybe look Rangers team total over. That's not a bad way to go. And the full game over, I think, could get there as well. So I just think New Jersey with, again, way more positive COVID. It's like 19 for COVID-19 for this hockey team because they had 19 players test positive. And I know there's still 5 now that are held out and everybody else is eligible and playing tonight. But still, you've been battling this thing. You haven't been moving around a whole lot. You've been in isolation. And now all of a sudden you got to go out there and play a hockey game against a team that A, is probably better than you, and B, is definitely going to be focused and not look past the Devils after back-to-back losses to the Bruins. So definitely some good reasons to like the Rangers here tonight in this game. Minnesota Wild, LA Kings. Here we go. Another team back from the COVID-19 pause, the Minnesota Wild. They're laying minus 130 to minus 135 on the road at Staples in LA. The total 5.5 across the board. See, there's been a lot of money here on Minnesota. Despite the long hiatus for the Minnesota Wild, a lot of money has come in on them because this was close to even money, and now the Wild a good minus 130 to minus 135 favorite. I don't know. This one's tough because I understand the worry about the Kings. The Kings have definitely struggled in recent games, no question about that. But you look at Minnesota, a sizable amount of their team is still not coming with them on this road trip here to LA. You're talking about Nick Bonino, Victor Rask, Nico Sturm, Jonas Brodin, Ian Cole, Brad Hunt, Carson Soucy, Cam Talbot, goaltender for this is a lot of players that are not accompanying the Wild on this road trip here because they're still on the COVID-19 protocol list. So you've also got some issues there. You've also got Jared Spurgeon and Matt Dumba that have been battling injuries. We'll have to see if they're in tonight, but there's a lot of potential personnel absences tonight for the Minnesota Wild. And I think if they're fully healthy roster-wise, going into this matchup tonight against the LA Kings, they're probably a good bet at minus 130 tonight because I think they are better than the LA Kings, but there's question marks, availability. Again, the long hiatus. Are they going to be sharp that first game? I think it can go both ways. I know we saw Dallas and Vegas play well the first game back, but it didn't continue that way for Colorado on Sunday against Vegas. So to me, it's one of those situations where I'd like to back Minnesota, but there's enough question marks, and there's certainly enough of a price move here toward the Minnesota side that I'm no longer interested. I'm out now that it's up to minus 130. So for me, this is a sit back and watch game. I'm passing on it. Alex, what about you? Wild and Kings.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with the Wild, obviously it's unfortunate for all the teams that have suffered, COVID absences, but they were in such a good rhythm playing competitive hockey night in, night out. And, we kind of saw some really good battles between the Wild and LA so far. Of course, they had the 2 comebacks in Staples Center at the beginning of the year, and then they traded off wins here in St. Paul. But like I said, there's too many guys missing right now. You worry about the cohesiveness of this team, getting back and getting acclimated. But at the same time, I don't want to back LA either here in this spot, even though, like I said, it's been, some good spirited matchups, and I'm sure they want to get a win knowing that, they've lost 3 of the last 4 against them. This will be a game I'm definitely going to be watching and seeing how the Wild react. Might jump in with something in game, but I've got nothing as of now.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely a live betting game. I agree with that. There might be something I get interested in from a live betting standpoint based on what we're watching, but that remains to be seen here in this one. By the way, some people in the chat wondering about goaltenders. Scott Wedgwood is projected, but there is a chance it's Blackwood. It just hasn't been confirmed yet from the New Jersey side. Who is going to be in net here for them tonight? I'm going to see if I can get an update on that before we get to the final game, which is probably the game of the night. Arguably, Washington-Pittsburgh's pretty good too, but Colorado-Vegas, if it's anything like that Sunday game, it probably will be the game of the night. But you look at New Jersey, Mackenzie Blackwood is back and eligible to play. The question is, will Lindy Ruff decide to give him the starting assignment tonight in this game against the New York Rangers here? He's been added to the roster. He could start. That's the last update I have. Could start tonight against the Rangers. So it'll be either it's going to be something Wood is going to start in net tonight for New Jersey. Black or Wedge. Take your pick. Black or Wedge. We'll find out later on. But right now unconfirmed. And it'll be Igor Shesterkin for the New York Rangers. That much we do know. And he's starting to play a lot better, Igor Shesterkin. The last few games for the Rangers. All right, game of the night. Look, don't be fooled by the final score Sunday. That was a great hockey game. 1-0 can be a good hockey game. If there's great goaltending, there's still an abundance of chances, and there were in that game. It was a great hockey game. It should be a good one again tonight. Colorado and Vegas for the second straight time in Sin City. Vegas minus 110 to minus 115. Home favorites here. The total 5.5, shaded to the over. Some 6s. In some spots here in this game. Vegas with the 1-0 win against Colorado. And all of a sudden, Marc-Andre Fleury, who of course has had to start all of these games lately for Robin Lehner, who's still out with that upper body injury, all he's done is step in for Lehner and been remarkable. 7-1, 1.38 goals against, 944 save percentage for Marc-Andre Fleury in 8 starts this season for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's been lights out. He's been shutting the door, been a brick wall in between the pipes for this Golden Knights team this season. His only loss this season was that 1-0 game against Anaheim, where he only gives up a goal and he loses. So that's how good he's been. However, and it seems like it's just, how could you not ride Vegas? How could you not ride Fleury the way he's going right now? All Peter DeBoer would say, and he said this like 2 or 3 times after the game on Sunday against Colorado, I got to get Fleury some rest. I got to get Fleury some rest. He's starting to look a little tired. Well, you wouldn't know by his performance, but that's all Peter DeBoer would say after the game against Colorado. And if Fleury's in net tonight, it's now all of a sudden 3rd start in 4 nights for him, 4th start in 6 nights for him. And it's actually a guy that long-term in his career, when he's had an increased workload and having to start, not back-to-back, but having to start a bunch of games in a condensed period of time, that's sometimes where he's not quite as sharp as he normally would be. So that kind of concerns me a little bit here for Golden Knight. It's tough to say, oh, this is a night where Fleury's going to not be quite as good, considering how he's played so far, but it's kind of the way I feel. And from a Colorado standpoint, they had the better chance. They had the better expected goal margin against Vegas on Sunday. They had more high danger chances against Vegas on Sunday. They had the edge in some of those ulterior advanced numbers, despite the 1-0 loss on Sunday. I think there's a very good chance they're sharper. Jared Bednar said our passes just weren't clicking, and that extra little burst in your legs and energy that you need to complete plays, to get scoring chances and score goals, we were lacking that. The effort was good. We had the puck a lot, but we were just missing the finish, missing that final great pass, missing that final connection in the offensive zone to really put them in a great chance to score. That was lacking, and that's all timing, for a team that hadn't played in a few weeks. So I think they get some of that back tonight. Yeah, it does concern me a little bit. Colorado is still very much, banged up on the blue line, although there's some good news that Cale Makar might be back tonight for Colorado. He's been upgraded to a game time decision, and there was thought that he might miss this game initially as well. So if they can get him back, he is huge. And Bowen Byram has stepped up and been amazing for them. This guy at 19 years old is showing he is ready to be an NHL defenseman already. So I like the spot for Colorado here, and I'm not going to go against them off a loss. This team is just absolutely nails when they're off a defeat. And already this year, a perfect 4-0 off a loss this season. And when I look at the value here, Alex, they were minus 115 on Sunday, Colorado, yet now they're like plus 100. And I think the situation in the spot is better for them now than it was on Sunday. So I think the value has shifted enough to the Avs here, where even though Vegas is a tough team to go against right now, and Fleury's an even tougher goalie to go against right now, I'm going to go against them with Colorado here, plus 100 in this game. And I'm also going to bet over 5.5 here, minus 120. You had a low-scoring, tight-checking game. All this talk about Fleury now, maybe a lot of games that he's played in a short period of time. Peter DeBoer talking about, you got to get him some rest. That's kind of like a tell from the coach that maybe some kind of tick in his performance could happen for him. Maybe it's tonight, and I think Colorado offensively will execute a lot better. So I like the Avs. I like the over here. Should be a good one. Alex, what's your thoughts? Avs, Golden Knights.
Yeah, it's just a lean to the Avs. It's nothing official, like I said, 'cause this is a Vegas team that has been playing very well, and they have these lapses at times where they don't get their offense rolling. This is the third game in the last 10 contests they've had where it was a 1-0 final, be it win or loss, the 2-1 in 1-0 contest with the matchup. So, that's a bit of a concerning spot for them. Obviously, like I said, when you're playing against a Colorado team that does well off of a loss, and they have the offensive firepower more consistently than Vegas. So that's why it would be a lean. If I had to play anything, it would be the Avalanche here in this spot. But like I said, these are two tough teams, and they know that they're battling neck and neck in that division race. So they take these games with the utmost importance and seriousness. So I'll be watching it for sure, but I won't have a play in this one.
All right, it's a pass for Alex. Should be a good one with Colorado and Vegas. And that's the look at the Tuesday card. Before we get to best bets, we want to remind you, for all of you watching and listening to the Ice Guys show today, to sign up, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and sign up an account there with the promo code, using the promo code THPN, stands for the Hockey Podcast Network. Get yourself some good deals and great bonuses with your wagers through DraftKings, through their app. So make sure you sign up and subscribe, or sign up to a DraftKings Sportsbook account using the promo code THPN. All right, let's go to best bets for this Tuesday NHL card. Jimmy, before he left for his appointment, already mentioned he likes the Islanders Sabres under 5.5 minus 120 as his best bet. Alex, where are you going tonight for a Tuesday best bet?
Same contest, but I'm going with the first period over 1.5 at even money. Like you mentioned, it's a Buffalo team that should have a lot more energy early in this contest. And like I said, the Islanders have been doing well. They're 11-3 to the first period over so far this season. I don't see why that would change here one bit, especially getting a good price at plus 100. So Isles, Sabres, first period over.
All right, Islanders, Sabres, over 1.5, plus 100, even money in the first period for Alex B. Smith. Mine, well, the over that's about as, you talk about over easy, not talking about eggs, I'm talking about bets last night. The Columbus-Carolina game couldn't have been any easier, getting that game over the total by early in the second period. Hopefully it's just as easy tonight with this one. We're going to go Washington, Pittsburgh, over 6.5, minus 120, 7 straight overs head-to-head with these two teams. All 7 of those games getting to 7 goals or more in the game. I expect more of the same here. We'll go with Washington, Pittsburgh, over 6.5, -120 for my best bet on this Tuesday Ice Guys show for February 16th. And that will wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening to the Ice Guys. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.